All right, let's start. We'll start. So, you all know who I am, all three of you. I'm Nicole Pietro-Andrea Huff from CocoHuff.com, previously Nicole Huff Designs. The new site is meant to bring together my kitchen design and renovation business with food and cooking and teaching how to make basic foods through techniques where you don't need a recipe and it's easier to feed your family. Hi Stacy. So making it easier to feed your family every day by knowing the basic techniques that it takes to do that, where you don't have to worry so much about exactly how you're doing something or what you're going to do. So when I've taught in the past, I usually start with a chicken because, first of all, it's a whole meal unto itself. Really, out of a salad or a rice or a vegetable, and you've got it. Like, this is just a very easy one-piece thing to do. There are a lot of different ways to do it, but really the most basic way is how we're going to do it today. Something very simple. Oh, good. Stacy can hear me. Excellent. I wasn't sure. Just a very, very simple preparation that's also delicious. And then the other reason I start with chicken in terms of lessons is that it's the introduction to how are we going to use everything we have. So when you have the chicken, you don't just eat the chicken, like the meat, and that's it. You can use the bones, the skin, the cartilage, everything inside. So that's sort of new to some people, but I think it's a way to make the most of your money, make the most of protecting the environment and being conscious about what you're eating and what you're buying. So that's how we start with this. So the second lesson will be about using the bones and things for stock and how we're going to do that. So we're going to start with this. I have one cooking in the oven actually, so we can see what it looks like and then carve it together and look at the bones and everything. This is just from Stop and Shop, believe it or not. It's an organic whole chicken. It was $16. This would feed probably 6 people, 4 to 6 people. So we're just going to open it up. I'm so happy you're all here. I can't even tell you. Liz and Sean and Catherine, thank you. Welcome. All right, I'm going to poke a hole in this first and just sort of drain it in the sink. And there's a lot of juice in there that I can see, so I don't want to make a giant mess. So let's do that first. Oh, that was loud. So you have to wash your sink out after this, but you know, whatever method you did, you have to do that. It's still going to be a mess. Drain it a little bit. This says, we're going to talk about what's inside there too. This says some parts may be missing. I don't know what that means, but we'll find out. Oh, it's a mess. All right, luckily I have garbage right there. And this is the inside part. I'm going to switch between 2 cameras, and you can tell me what you like better. This is to see more what I'm doing. Some people, there are a few debates about this. One is, should you wash the chicken or not? I never do. I think whatever's on there, I mean, I just poured most of it out, is basically the same as what you're eating. So in terms of salmonella or anything you're concerned about, you're not really altering anything, and then you're getting more of that all over your sink, basically. So you also, the second reason is you don't really want it to be wet. The idea is for it to be pretty dry so that you end up with a crispy skin in the end. So I'm actually going to take paper towels. So instead of washing it, I'm going to pat this dry completely, as much as possible. You know, there's actually, I dump this out a little bit more. There's some liquid inside too. There we go. And after we finish this first part, you know, we wash our hands, obviously. I wash them before starting. So a couple paper towels, flip it over. I have paper towels on my cutting board. There's also a debate about the cutting board. Should you use plastic or wood? I like plastic because it can go in the dishwasher. I feel like it gets sanitized. There's actually some evidence that wood is antimicrobial on its own. So that's a bit of a debate. I think you're fine as long as you wash it after the fact. Now, I forgot to do something, so I'm going to wash my hands and then tell you more. Usually I put the salt and pepper together first so that I'm not touching it with my chicken hands. Jen, Kendall, and Diana. There's people from high school. Diana, I'm so happy you're here. And Charlotte, I'm glad you're here. Charlotte, my friend who bakes amazing bread, is going to be on this with me sometime. We're going to talk about bread. And she helped me set up my cameras and my lights, and I'm so grateful to you, Charlotte. So we're trying. What am I doing? I just did it again. I got distracted by all you people. You awesome people. I got distracted. All right, so here's what I'm trying to tell you. We're going to mix the salt and pepper together with clean hands. If you were distracted, you would do it before you start. So I have just regular table salt here. I'm going to do a tablespoon and a half. This way, in theory, you're not touching that and touching the pepper with chicken on your hands. But it took me 3 tries. So pepper, it takes a while. We're going to do quite a lot of pepper. It's actually a lot of salt too, but it helps to crisp the skin. And all of that salt is going, you know, you're not just going to eat it in one bite. It's kind of into the meat as it cooks and all that. So a few more pepper. I'm just going to stand here and be distracted by all the awesome people over here. All right, we mix that together. I'm going to switch to this view. Maybe you can see it better. And you just sprinkle this all over the outside, the inside of the chicken. So it's maybe a little bit more than I need. This was about a 5.5 pound chicken. Sometimes this is organic. Sometimes the organic ones are a lot smaller. Sometimes a non-organic one can be a lot bigger. So kind of gauge it. You want a good coating of salt and pepper on the whole thing. So this is upside down right now. Do that side. Flip. See, now it doesn't matter if I stick my hands back in there, so we're going to throw that away at the end. Hi, Jen. How are you? And Trisha, hello. And Karen, oh my God, it's people from like every walk of my life here. It's so exciting. All right, and the inside, we want to get the salt and pepper seasoned on the inside too. So you could do, as I said before, more complicated things. So we could do, sometimes I add some turmeric for color in with this mixture, sometimes some garlic powder. Maybe in the future we'll do something where we add butter and herbs and kind of put it all under the skin. It creates a nice look, and it's a little bit like the next level of this. But what we're doing today is, you know, how can you get dinner on the table and have it taste really good? So you could just, now this is ready. It has the salt and the pepper, and it's dried off, so it'll be crispy. We could just put this in the pan, but I like to do what's called trussing it, which is sort of tying the chicken up a little bit so that this one's pretty plump, but sometimes they look a little flat, and then it's a more attractive presentation, and it cooks more evenly. So I have some twine. I hope that's long enough. Yeah. I have my twine. There's a couple of things. If I'm feeling like I don't want to do anything complicated, I do 2 steps. I just take these little wing tips and tuck them under so they're not kind of flapping around. No pun intended. Wing tips under. It already looks a little bit neater that way. And then you could just tie the 2 legs together, and if you see already it looks more presentable like that. So that's the first level of doing that. The next one, there are various ways. I think different chefs would tell you different ways. I like to push this flap of skin just down a little bit and start with that so that it doesn't come up over the chicken breast while it's cooking, and then that dries out a little bit more. So it protects the chicken breast from drying out. So just a piece of string, it's about that long. Put it over this skin here. Come over the legs that are still like this, and then under. And then you're going to cross this. I'll do it with this view actually. So around here, over the breast, over the legs like this, under, like this, cross. And now look how nice that looks. Doesn't that look nice? It's like the rotisserie you buy. And then there's this little tail area here that you can cross over that as well. Oops, no, go under it. And pull the whole doesn't always want to be in there, especially if you stuffed it. Yeah, maybe that's not going to work. Cross under it. If you stuff something in there, you might want to do that to keep it all closed, or not. It's not imperative. So we just did the legs today. That part doesn't want to go. And then tie a little bow, and now it just looks more like what you see, what a roasted chicken looks like eventually. Okay, like that. Doesn't that look nice? All right, so this is going in our pan. Get rid of this. And then we're going to look at this bag. I think, I grew up, my mom would boil everything that was in this bag and we would eat it with salt. I think a lot of people throw it away. So we're going to talk about what you can do with this. And like I said, this one said some parts are missing, so we'll see what we have. We have the neck. So this was just attached right here, basically, where we just tied that string. That's the rest of the neck of the chicken. This, I hope this isn't grossing everyone out. This is the heart. Do it up close of that. That's the heart, which I don't mean to sound, if you're not used to that, this might sound strange, but it's truly delicious and it's very healthy. It's like pure protein. This is the liver. I think we have more than one of each, actually. Yeah, this is another heart. Liver, more liver. This is a gizzard, and this is more liver. Okay, so I think once you've seen it a couple times, you will know what's what. So squeamishness aside, first of all, the neck, I roast with the chicken. So this is another, you may or may not want to eat it. There's some meat on there, almost like a rib. It's not a rib, but like meat like that. The skin will get crispy, and it tastes good. But also, when we start talking about making stock, there's a lot of collagen and protein and calcium in the bones and the skin and the connective tissue in here. So we're going to use that, maybe put a little salt on it. The hearts as well, you can just salt them and roast them. And the same with the gizzard. So for starters today, we're going to do that. In the future, we can talk about, there are a lot of international dishes where you would save these and save the gizzards in different parts, and you can, when you have enough, you can skewer them and barbecue them and roast them. It makes a delicious meal if you're feeling adventuresome. Gizzard, I don't even know if I want to say right now what it's for. It's part of the digestive system of the chicken where, I hope this is correct actually, it's like when they eat the grains, it helps them to break them down in their digestive tract. So it's also a strong source of protein. Liver, I'm not going to roast today. Actually, the one that we're pulling, that's another heart actually. The one we're pulling out of the oven, I roasted the liver. It gets a little bit crispy. If you like liver, just save these and you can make, chicken liver, chopped liver, or a pate, or, liver and onions, like all sorts of different things that you can make with that. So I might save and freeze those, and when you have enough, you can make a dish like that. So that's where we are. I'm going to take a second to just put this away and wash up and put that in the oven, and then bring out the other one so we can look at how to carve it. Oh my God, there's so many great people. Barbara and Nikki and Brad and Dina. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you. All right, let's move this. And let's see, I'll probably take the other one out first. I'll wash my hands before I do that. It is important to wash your hands continuously as you're preparing the chicken, so you try not to touch the chicken, touch the pepper mill, like I said, do the pepper and salt first so that you're not going back and forth. I just touched this by accident, so if you're not distracted like I am right now, you would do that. All right, all that's going in there. I'm going to pull out the cooked one and then put that one in the oven. Let's find out. Oh yeah, that was good. My glasses just steamed up, I can't see. there's our chicken. This one's going in. So if anyone has questions, I'm trying to keep track of this, the comments too, but I should have said this in the beginning. Questions about kitchen design, that's fine. Although I won't be distracted, but I can try to answer them. Questions about this, certainly, anything you want, or other cooking, anything. So I'm here to answer them. Kelly says, top camera. Is it better like that? So here's our cooked chicken. This is pretty hot right now, obviously. But you can see, oh, maybe you can hear it actually. Maybe. It's very crispy and it's brown. So there's a point in the cooking where you're kind of like, is it done? It's brown. This is, I'd say, even the beginning stages of how brown you want it. Sort of this golden, darker color here. It has crispy skin. You can see the salt sort of sitting on top of the skin. Here's where we trussed it earlier. And there are all these juices in the pan. And like we were just talking about, here are the roasted innards. They're just really good. You can slice them up, and this is the liver. Got a little bit. Oh, it's still nice actually. It's very caramelized on the top, but you can make a nice roasted liver kind of pate or something out of that. And then the neck, like I said, we're going to put it in our stock. For tonight, I'm going to save these things, and then we'll talk about the stock next time. It's a lot for one time. So, hold on, I need, I'm going to move this. Move this, we're going to carve it together and plate it, and then talk about what's next for next week. Which temperature? Thank you, Charlotte. That is a really important question. So that my oven is at 400 degrees. I preheated it before I started any of this. So since I just did this one, it was already preheated. But 400, and I should mention, I left the chicken was out of the refrigerator for an hour before I started. So once you do that, that also helps the skin to crisp because it gets that blast and it's not cold on the outside. If you're in a rush, I mean, I don't want to make it where you just got home and you want to have the chicken. So if you're in a rush in that situation, I'd make the oven 425 to start. So that it gets that blast of heat. And again, dry it like we did. My doorbell's ringing. They're going to have to wait. And Charlotte's asking if it's convection. My oven, I usually do use convection. I did not today because I wanted to make it more accessible to anyone, any oven. And also it makes a lot of noise, so I did not use convection today. Convection shortens the cooking time. So with my convection, a chicken this big would take an hour. It took about an hour and 15. So once you're at the hour mark, you sort of gauge by this color. You want this golden color. And I'm going to show you two other ways to know if it's done. So this is a little tricky sometimes, getting it out of the pan. I have this giant slotted spoon, and I have my tongs. Just be careful, there's hot liquid inside usually. Okay. I think it's also, this kind of cutting board with a channel in it is a nice thing to have if you have that, because it does tend to get liquid everywhere. There's someone at my door, but I'm busy. All right, so this one is trussed the same way as the other one. I'm going to go back to this camera. Hi, Liz. Do you use a meat thermometer? I don't typically. I can post for you what the temperature will be. I can come back and do it later. Oh, for goodness sakes. Sadie. Hold on. Shh. Liz, good question. And Charlotte, yes. Liz, I know. At the door, the dog is barking. That was crazy. Charlotte, yes, I would usually let it sit for a few minutes, but I do usually check this leg, and I'll show you why, sort of immediately upon taking it out of the oven, which tells you, generally speaking, if it's done, and I hope it is done. So what you're looking for once you untie the legs here is that this should be pretty loose. This one is bordering on being loose enough. I mean, sometimes it could be so loose that they're falling off. But you know, you don't want it to be stiff in any way. So I'd say this feels pretty good. And then when you cut into this, can you see this? I mean, this is the dark meat, which takes longer to cut. It shouldn't be pink. It should be this like rosy white color. And then any juices that are in here should be clear. So I'm sorry I can't get too much more zoomed in than that right now, and these are. So you can see the meat is sort of falling off the bone, the juices are clear, and that tells you that it's done. So you could wait 5 to 10 minutes for this to rest a little bit more, like you would with a steak, and that would be even better. So I think in this case, we're going to go ahead though. My brother, Sean, the dog, yeah, that's just, seems par for the course, right? Thank you, Anne. It does look good, right? It smells really good too. So to carve this, and please stop me if you have questions along the way. I tend to, it's very hot right now, but I tend to use my hands quite a bit. I don't know if I make it look so pretty, like I do this by myself in the kitchen so no one's looking, but it works. Like you can kind of feel where things should be. And you'll be able to see it hopefully right now too. So we cut on this side already. The skin, this is where the string was a minute ago. The skin between the breast and the leg, that's the first cut. And then sort of in between the drumstick and the thigh, and get it all the way to the bone where you sort of can't cut anymore. And now you're basically done almost with separating. And you'll see in there's a white knuckle that you can cut your knife in between, in theory. There we go. And now you have the drumstick. So let's put the skin back on. Get a platter. Okay, so one drumstick. We'll do the other one the same way. Kelly, that's interesting. Yeah, I think, you know, once you get the feel of it, and you know, like, this chicken's pretty big, and you're not using convection, it's going to be an hour and 15. It's an easier way, and I think sometimes when you're taking the temperature of the breast, it ends up sort of drying out. You just want to cook it to that golden point, and not more. So here's the white knuckle in between, cut in there, and then you have the other drumstick. Should we do this? Yeah. I hope it's not too hot. Let's see. So the next thing are the two thighs. Flip this over. So they attach obviously where the drumstick was, and then around, you can sort of see where it's moving already. I'm gonna hold it with, whoa, it's falling apart. This way. So see if you push it this way, it's coming away from the body. There's a bone right there, same thing. There's a knuckle. There's the drumstick end. There's this one. Sort of lost all the skin on that thigh. That's my favorite part. I don't know, what are your favorite parts? I like the thigh. Put that on our platter. And then on this side, pull it away again. Cut this away. And this is a lot of, you can see how juicy it is, and that's totally finished because it's that clear juice like that. Okay, those are the thighs and the drumsticks. Alright, the wings we tucked underneath here. You can sort of just separate it with your hands. Hot, hot. Yeah, Charlotte likes the thigh. Kelly said everything's yummy, which is true. Oops, I pulled the bone right out. And the skin. Okay. Do you all eat the skin? That's what I'm wondering, actually. So here's a wing that's going on our platter, too. The other wing. All right, so what we have now is, hi Mia, more high school friends. That's so exciting to me. I'm so happy. We have the two breasts left, and then some parts under here that you really do have to use your hands for because it's kind of tough to get at them with a knife. So for the breast, what I like to do is cut down the center. There's a cartilage piece in here, so you want basically to go on each side of that. So first on this side, and basically take it off in one piece. Hi, Mia. Mia says hi again. Facebook is amazing. People from everywhere, from my work, when I used to work in finance, from my kitchen design, from high school, from Ridgewood. Happy to see you all. So this piece, this is the whole breast and has that crispy skin on top. In my family, everyone fights about that. Who's going to get the skin? So then I slice it like this, sort of on a bias, to make these little medallions. Alright, and then just pick up the whole thing like that. And you can't see my platter yet. Fan it out a little bit on the platter. And then we're going to do the other side. You can see this piece in the middle. I'm losing all that skin. That's okay, we'll put it back on top. My brother confirms in the comments that he likes the skin too. It is really delicious. The crispy part at least. And the crispy part is really, it has rendered out all its fat, so it's really not bad for you. There it is. Cut this side into little medallions again. It's really tender. It's kind of falling apart, but it's very tender. All right, pick up that whole thing, fan it out on the platter. Oh, that one really just more fell apart on the platter. All right, let's bring the platter over so you can see. This is what we have so far. These are the two breasts. That one fell apart. Wings, the thighs, and the drumsticks. So really, if that's all you put on there, that's fine. I would save, we call it picking the chicken. I don't know if other people call it that. I'm gonna put this skin. This is all nice crispy skin. This is really best eaten on the first day. It doesn't stay that crispy over time. So I would continue to pick at this even for the first meal. There are two pieces under here. So if you see now, this was the breast, I'm flipping it over, and there's the bone in the middle, and then it divides here. So if you go right here, there are these two round pieces. Ah, it's really hot though. Darn me. That's called the oyster, and they say that's like the chef's prerogative to have that part because it's the best meat on the whole thing. So it's in this round part here. This is a little bit too hot for me right now to keep picking with my hands, but so even if it's for this first meal or if it's for tomorrow when you're having leftovers, all of this is still usable meat. So I would not put this in the stock. I would be taking this all off to put in for leftovers. You can make a chicken salad. You can make this quite a lot before you go on to the next step. Oh, there's so much right here actually, but it's too hot. So you know what I'm saying. You can feel it. So this is where I say, like, you don't let your guests necessarily watch you do this part. But you have clean hands and it's fun. So I just want to talk quickly then about what's next. So say we've carved the chicken, we've eaten the chicken, we've picked off the rest of this meat to make another meal. So you already have maybe like 2 meals out of what we've done so far. I'm getting some agreement, which is great. Charlotte agrees. Hi, Julie. Hi, Lisa. Happy to see you. So what you would have left then, after the meat is gone, is this center cartilage piece that we cut around to remove the breast. We have the ribs inside, and then in my world, I would take these bones that are inside the drumsticks and the thighs too later on and save those as well. So really all the bones and all the connective tissue, like I said, when you're done with that. And then you have, bring this tray back over. And this is what we're going to talk about next time. My dog is barking again. You have all of this liquid. I mean, this is still so juicy and all of this liquid came out of it. So you could strain this to remove the fat day one and make a gravy out of it. We can talk about that sometime too for this first meal. Or what I do if I don't do that is I save this. So everything in here goes into a container and either gets refrigerated or frozen. Like there's a little bit of skin stuck on the bottom here. And all this dark brown stuff is really flavorful. So that's all the caramelized skin or protein or whatever it is, like all from roasting. So you don't want to lose that because it will add to your stock the next time. Thank you, Chrissy. How are you? And Eileen, good to see you. Same thing with this. Like when you make stock, and we'll talk about this more in detail, whether it's shrimp or chicken or whatever kind, you want to roast the bones. You don't just take the raw bones and put them in the water. It just gives it so much more flavor and depth. So we have all this roasted meat and all of this liquid that we will save. Or like I said, you can also eat it or make pate. So the next thing we're going to do though is save it and make stock next week. My plan is to do this next Tuesday. Does anyone have questions? I've loved your comments. So that's it for this, really. So I hope that was clear, like what we're doing with this. There's so much liquid here that maybe I would make a gravy. So to do that, I have a fat separator. You pour it in, the fat rises to the top, and then you can pour it into a pan with a little bit of flour, maybe some garlic, some spices, some sage, and it will thicken slightly, not too much flour though. And that's it. So let me show you what we've made then. We have this for next time. That I'm going to pick up more. And then we have this platter, which is delicious. So thank you, Kelly. Kelly's complimenting the platter, and I'm so happy. Thank you. That makes me feel good. I wish I had all of you. Imagine having all of you here. Liz, do you roast the bones again? That is a good question. So the ones that were in, I don't actually, let me say that. But the ones that were like in the thigh, like this, you could, if you really wanted to get a deeper flavor out of it. So you see like this one is not as roasted as the neck bone. So I suppose you could. That might be a good thing. But I don't tend to do that. I don't even really like my stock to be too strong. And we'll talk more about this next week. Chrissy, can you remind me of the temperature? You put it was at 400 degrees. And I did this one for about an hour and 15 minutes without my convection. So I think in my oven, if I used convection, it would be about an hour. And this was a 5.5 pound chicken, where usually I find them a little bit smaller when they're organic, so then it is like an hour. And like I was saying, it's really the color. You know, once you're past a certain point, then it's the color, and it's okay if it goes even a little bit darker. And then again, the loose leg and the clear juices when you cut into that leg, that's important, because if they're red to pink, pink to dark red, actually, and then you're not done. And you can sort of, it's an easy cut, and then if it's not done, you can tie the legs back up and stick it back in for a little while. And I find that to be the easiest way. Oh my God, Jen. Jen is a vegetarian, but I'm really glad you learned a lot. Thank you. So I do wish you were all here. That would be amazing for me with all of these people from everywhere. And I hope you'll come back next week and we'll talk about stock. I'm going to talk about all the other things I save in my kitchen, like the scraps of vegetables and what onions and carrots and all that. In addition to, I usually add fresh carrots and celery, onions, sometimes garlic. And how long to do it, what different kinds of stock you can make with a chicken, and maybe we'll do shrimp stock and other things in the future too. So I am grateful for you. Thank you for being here. And I've just created a new website. So my Facebook is Coco Huff. My website is cocohuff.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm going to be on TikTok. And I'm just hoping to keep talking about the kitchen design, but also everything to make cooking easier for you. And also we're going to do some discovery of different foods in a couple weeks. So thank you. Thank you all so much. I'm going to sign off, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.